Ever since the successful and peaceful state elections, Jammu and Kashmir has seen a surge of terror attacks. Starting from the 16th of October, when the new state government and chief minister was sworn in, there have been 14 terror attacks. 12 civilians and 3 army personnel have been killed, and 12 terrorists have been shot dead. Terror attacks have rocked 8 out of 10 districts in Jammu for the year 2024. Now, the revocation of Article 370 in August 2019 marked a significant shift in the region. There was a slow peace and progress established in the valley. But now, after years of relative peace, Kashmir is seeing violence with targeted attacks on civilians and frequent clashes between militants and security forces. These targeted attacks are undermining the very progress that increased economic investments, infrastructure projects, and improved security conditions are bringing on in the states. So, how does one stop the terror groups? From 2019 onwards, one had seen terror attacks reduce a lot during the governor's rule. So, why have those attacks increased now? And how does one deal with Pakistan that is fomenting this unrest in Kashmir? Joining me to discuss that are Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, Defence and Geopolitics expert, SP Vaid, former Director General of Police, Jammu and Kashmir, and Tarun Upadhyay, Senior Journalist, Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you, all of you gentlemen, for taking time out to be with us. Let me begin with Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni. Sanjay Kulkarni, talk to us. There was relative peace for nearly 5 years, and now we seem to have gotten back to square one.
Rather unfortunate, absolutely unfortunate. And primarily the reason is because the entire elections also, if you see the way there were two basic reasons. One, establishment of the statehood, and second was restoration of Article 370. Now, can you ever imagine parties which have got brains, which they know how to function, can Article 370 be restored by a legislative assembly or by the people over there? Is something which is impossible. But the very fact that this cause, the separatist cause, which was the major reason for this terrorism that is continuing in J&K, obviously fermented by Pakistan, which knows it very well that there is a tremendous amount of, you could say, this, the feeling of separatism, which the local political parties are also fermenting it. Be it the PDP, be it the National Conference, be it the others. All of this. Even if you see in the Lok Sabha elections, that Engineer Rashid, targeted for, you could say, this funding, this kind of money laundering, separatism, all of it gets elected, defeating none other than Omar Abdullah. If this be so, if this is what the valley is all about, and again, if you see the valley was one part, now you see the Jammu part. Even in Jammu region, when you see Rajouri, you see Poonch, you see Doda, you see Kishtwar, even the areas of Rambana, all of them are Muslim-dominated areas. Poonch is 90% more Muslims. Rajouri is 67% Muslims. You have Doda, which is 54%. Kishtwar, 58%. You have your Ramban, almost 70%. So these are the areas where all of this, and that tremendous OGWs. You have all what you call the resistance front, you have the Tigers, you have the People's Anti-Fascist Front, sponsored by Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, all from Pakistan. But all of it is because there is a strong network of OGWs, and until and unless, we've been insisting again and again, I've been saying it on all your programs, that a fish can't stay without water. Similarly, neither can these terrorists ever survive without local support, and that local support is readily available. Much that we might say 60% voting has been done, good enough, but there are 40% who have not voted and are involved in all these kind of activities, and which is huge because the area, the way the population, sparse population spread all over, thickly forested areas, even whether it's Doda, Kishtwar, any of these areas, if you see Rajouri, Poonch, they're quite thickly forested, and these houses are spread all over. So until unless these terrorists are getting kind of logistic support, then drug money which is coming in, you have the drones which are coming in, you have the mobiles which give you latest information which is moving in, then targeting the locals, targeting the security forces, shifting the entire this terrorist thing to Jammu with a view to stretch the security forces, knowing fully well that look, everybody seems to be going gaga in India that elections have been held, everything is normal, tourism was at its peak. Look who controls and who's calling the shots. These terrorists, all sponsored from most of the people who have been shot dead are foreign militants from Pakistan. There have been, earlier there was three-digit, you could say, people recruited into terrorism. It has come down to two digits. It may be 50, it may be 40. But the fact that these people are there, and all of this is primarily supported from outside. And that outside is none other than Pakistan. And that is where the whole cause of terrorism, obviously the OGW, there is no denying the fact. Then the separatists, as I repeat again and again, saying that the parties over there, all the parties which have stood for elections over there, and especially the parties from the valley and from the Union Territory of J&K, what was the agenda? Restoration of Article 370, which very well has been totally set aside by the Supreme Court also, but still fomenting separatism amongst the people.
Mr. S.P. Ved, former Director General of Police, let me ask you this. Tell us, what, according to you, is the trigger for the sudden spike in terror attacks?
Sudden trigger, I think, could be the successful election both in the parliament and in assembly. You had polling of more than 60%, which I don't think the handlers across would digest very easily, because they don't allow their own people this kind of democracy. So, and the narrative of improvement in situation after abrogation of Article 370, they want to debunk this narrative that everything is normal now after the 370 has been abrogated and state has been integrated with the rest of India. So both the parties within Jammu Kashmir, as General Saab was saying, look at their the dangle you saw in the assembly. Look at the campaign during the elections, all focused on Article 370. Fine, restoration of statehood is promised by Honorable Prime Minister and the Union Home Minister on the floor of the House. But talking of restoration of Article 370, you are playing to the gallery. You are everyone understands it's not possible that Article 370 will come back, and the kind of separatist sentiment which is they are trying to erode again. The kind of statements during the campaigning and also in the assembly, they're very, very not the kind of the positive role the politicians should be playing. But unfortunately, that's not happening. Look at what the scenes in the assembly. Similarly, Pakistan will not allow the slipping of Jammu and Kashmir, an issue which they have been watering and pampering for last 75 years. They will not allow this to slip from their hands. So it's a push from across as well. You saw a sudden surge in terror activities in Jammu region, initially in Rajouri Poonch, and from the day Honorable Prime Minister was taking oath, how there was an attack on the Yatris coming from Shiv Khodi in the Riyasi district, and then spreading to other districts like Kathua, Udhampur, Doda, and other areas. Now, most of these terrorists are foreigners, no doubt. As General Saab was saying, they're all Pakistani terrorists, but obviously they cannot operate without local support. The OGW network is helping them. They can't get their food, they can't travel without the local support. All these, the wherewithal, they need local support, which they are able to manage. And that's why they were able to do a lot of incidents in Jammu region before the assembly election. Some of these groups have crossed from Pir Panjal to Jammu Kashmir Valley. And there were also attempts for infiltration from areas like Keran and Karna sector in Kashmir Valley. And some of them have managed to enter, though Indian Army had managed to intercept some of the groups. But fact remains that some of the foreign terrorist from Pakistan was able to push from that side. That is why you are seeing sudden spurt in incidents now after the assembly election in Kashmir Valley. And you saw two incidents in Srinagar city, a grenade blast in the Sunday market, and then Khanyar witnessed a terror incident, exchange of fire. I think after lot of gap, we had in attack in Gulmarg, we had a attack in Sonamarg. You saw an encounter where two terrorists were killed in Anantnag and also in Sopur. So I think all this, the one aspect of it, you can also say those who have entered inside, even if they are foreigners, the security forces are trying to engage wherever they are getting information and trying to eliminate them. And they need to be eliminated before they cause more harm. But there are incidents where they are attacking, like what you saw in Sonamarg. There was an attack where 7 people were killed, including a local doctor and outside labor. Similarly, attack on the army in the Gulmarg area. So there are areas where terrorists are initiating attacks. Even the two you witnessed in Srinagar, Jabarwan Hills also, we had reports about some terrorist movement in outskirts of Srinagar.
Right.
We had Kishtwar, the 2 VDCs being killed, and how there was a exchange of fire where we lost unfortunately an army trooper, and also 3-4 were injured. So I think forces are also trying to engage them. That's one reason. The other is the terrorists are also, I think they are under direction from across to overall the new government of Umar Abdullah by sudden spurt in the incidents in Kashmir Valley.
Let me take this across to Tarun Upadhyay, senior journalist joining us from Jammu and Kashmir. Tarun, talk to us. 14 terror attacks in less than a month. Clearly, the fact that Jammu and Kashmir had peaceful elections is something that did not go down well with the terrorists. But talk to us, terrorists from outside of this country, terrorists from Pakistan, are able to do all of this because of the strong support they get from the so-called OGWs or overground workers from Jammu and Kashmir.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, there has been a spurt in terrorist activity since the Umar Abdullah government has come to power. Last month, even not a month has passed. But we have also factored in why there is a certain spurt in terrorist activities. First is that we can't say the terrorism has increased only after the Umar Abdullah government has taken over. For the last 2 or 3 years, terrorists have been playing a very strategic game. That is my understanding of the situation. They are shifting the focus from Jammu and then to Kashmir, first Jammu and then to Kashmir. If you look at the last 2 or 3 years, the major terrorist activities were concentrated in the Jammu region. Primarily in the Doda and primarily in the Rajouri and Poonch districts. Then they shifted the focus across in the other regions of the Jammu region, like Kathua attack. That was a where 5 security personnel died, and that was an ambush kind of a thing. This thing has not happened in the last more than 10 to 12 years, if I'm more than 15 years in that area of Bilawar of Kathua district. Then they have shifted the focus to Doda region also, where not only the civilians were attacked, but the security forces personnel have taken a heavy toll. And only recently the village defense guards have been killed, which were earlier called village defense committees. These are the kind of the people who have taken terrorism head on in the Doda district, and they ensured that the migration which took place in the Kashmir of the Kashmiri Pandits, that didn't happen in the Doda region of the Hindus. So they are strategically attacking. They are also strategically attacking their targets. Now, there are other two factors which have to be factored in. First, I mean, it will be very naive to assume that once the Umar Abdullah government takes over, there will be peace. We had to factor in that terrorists were waiting for this day to come. They would make an attack, and this is exactly what has happened. The day Umar Abdullah had taken over the oath, the non-locals and locals were attacked in the who were part of the destruction process of Zojila Terror. Exactly on June 8th, if I'm not wrong in recollecting the date, when Prime Minister Modi assumed the office, The same day, the terrorists attacked at Shivpuri pilgrims, and 7 pilgrims were killed. So, and another factor is that the security forces have to understand that the Jammu and Kashmir is a one entity. Don't assume that Jammu is different entity and Kashmir is a separate entity. So they have to factor in what the terrorists are trying to do. They keep the focus in Jammu region for some time and assume that the security forces will spread out. Then they shift the focus to Kashmir region. So overall, the security apparatus had to go for an overall. And then secondly, since the law and order is in the hands of LG, both the LG and the CM have to work together.
Okay.
Because this thing can spiral out of hand also.
Right. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, that begs the question, how do you, there has been a spurt, there has been a surge. What is the need of the hour to stop this surge of terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir?
I would recommend a few suggestions. First and foremost, like what Mr. Tarun was talking about, absolutely right. This is not the time to, instigate people. And assembly has been seeing only instigation, whether it's Article 370 or whether it is statehood. This was the time when the local government was in power. When the National Conference has come up with a decent majority and they are in power, they should have worked together, ensured that the state moves towards prosperity, state moves towards showing normalcy. Statehood in any case would have come and not spoken about separatism. But you saw what happened in assembly. You see the way Engineer Rashid's brother was behaving, the way the others were behaving in the assembly. That's not the way to behave. That itself is the first indicator that things are not in the normal this thing, and that they have no desire whatsoever. They have no interest of the state. They have only interest in playing to the gallery of all these people. Then you have yet another voice of Mr. Farooq Abdullah saying that look, Pakistan should see its place and it must not foment trouble in the J&K. If they think they can win, they will not win. All the double talk till yesterday, one said something else. Today, of course, you're saying something good. But all of this is seen and seen by the people that these people are not what they are supposed to be. And now, with this snowfall also coming in, there is bound to be activities, little uptick, because they know the snowfall has already come in. The higher reaches are going to be closed down. It's not so easy going to be able to move south and north of Pir Panjal. It's very difficult. Infiltration is not going to be that easy. So might well do whatever one can to begin with. So another 10-15 days they would want to do and finish off. Now, it's just not that, like what the DG also said. The DG is saying again and again, until and unless this OGW network has to be severely cut, the punishments have to be harsh. If you find someone is giving support to a particular house, I think, again, we have to probably take a very severe punishment to the owners of those houses who are providing logistic support. It is not just logistic support. The terrain is such, they're even giving navigational support. They're allowing people to be able to target people, then even ambush the security convoys are concerned. So you find that there is a lot that needs to be done amongst the people. And then the people themselves, I think it's time that the people must come out openly. I don't find that kind of a thing happening at all. They're targeting locals. That too, mostly outsiders, people who have come from outside to work for them. Now, say, let's take the Zozila tunnel, where the functioning, probably because of the kind of thing they do, because they know it doesn't affect now the Union Territory of J&K. It is primarily for the security forces to be able to get to Ladakh 24/7, 365 days. So come on, let's do that over there. So until and unless the people of the Union Territory of J&K realize that statehood will come, what is very important is to ensure to be able to convey to Pakistan, we do not care two hoots for you, you cannot interfere into the functioning of the state of J&K, that people of J&K are fed up, they don't want it. Until and unless the people, for which it is very important that the local political parties must be able to convey that. They are not doing it. I think this was an ideal opportunity for the state government right now to be able to say, look, they have the power, they are in power, they must use the Lieutenant Governor to ensure that all of this comes, so that the statehood comes very gradually. Now, probably the statehood may delayed because terrorism is one of the factors which has not been sorted out. So it is very, very important. I would say that nobody in the state must ever talk about restoration of Article 370. The restoration of Article 370 is indicative of separatism, is indicative of Islamist fundamentalism, is indicative of wanting to be separate from from India. How is it possible? You can't stay away. You are part of this country.
Right.
Until unless that is conveyed clearly, it may not work out. Yeah.
SP Ved, I have to ask you this. It's going to take political will at this stage to stop this surge in terror attacks. Also talk to us what can be done from your perspective as an SOP when you have a situation like this.
There's no doubt that terrorists are changing tactics. They particularly from directions from across, and this is not the kind of earlier terrorism. It's changed terrorism, and you need to change your tactics also. You are not very easily getting inputs about these terrorists on the ground. They are not communicating directly between themselves, so there's no way to get their intercepts about their location. I'm told they are using some internet-based Chinese app, communicating with somebody across who's a control tower, and he conveys the message further. Number two, I have also noted that even in the village when they come, this particularly I saw in Bilawar Mashedi, they took control of the whole village and first of all seized all their mobiles and did not allow anyone to either leave the village or communicate. So after they left after the attack on the army, martyring 5 army personnel, only after that they left the village and went to some other place. Now, this kind of situation, I think cooperation of the people is very, very important. And we need to convey in very clear terms, and this must be known to everyone. Whoever assists the terrorist, he should know that he will not be able to escape, and that is a very clear message must go. Very heavy hand. A lot of work was done to check the OGW network, but I think still lot needs to be done, particularly in the hilly area of Jammu region and in Kashmir Valley as such. Number two, I know it bringing infiltration to zero level is very, very difficult. It's a very difficult terrain, but there is no option with India that we must take all steps to bring it down as minimum as possible. As long as Pakistani terrorists, these battle-hardened Khyber Pakhtunkhwa people who are mountain warfare trained, they will create trouble, and I think we need to take steps that they are not able to enter as easily as possible. And also the kind of weaponry they have managed to procure from what Americans left in Afghanistan. So that we are losing many of our people because of the armored piercing bullets and also the kind of weapon M4 rifles. I think with the telescopic effect and night vision, it is putting our forces into a lot of, we need to counter that.
Okay.
Third, I think politically also, as General Saab was saying, the Omar Abdullah government, the ground connect of their MLAs, and that they need to work very closely with the Lieutenant Governor and share intelligence with the LG's administration and work together, because we must realize it is a common enemy and we can only defeat it together.
Tarun Upadhyay, the fact of the matter is it's a brand new government that's come to power in Jammu and Kashmir, thankfully due to peaceful elections. Do you think it's the right time for this new government to take some hard action, work in tandem with the Lieutenant Governor and the security forces? Because if they don't, it is their own government which is at stake.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. The new government has come to power and it has to work in tandem with the Lieutenant Governor. There should not be any differences on there should not be any differences as far as the security situation is concerned. I mean, if I am not wrong in recollecting, Umar Abdullah in the assembly during the motion of thanks have said that we will ensure that the peace is returned, and he also said that we will give all the cooperation to the security forces as well as to the police also. So he did strike a very positive note on that account. But he also made a point which I think was a bit of disturbing. He said we can control the situation to a certain level, but for the permanent peace to return, the people have to be made partner in it. But then one must also ask the people were always made partner by the government of India, and for the last 30 years, then if the people were not made partner, then why there was so much development which has taken place, why the elections have been so peaceful, why the DDC elections have been so peaceful if the people were not made partner. But the point is that why certain people are not becoming partner in ensuring peace and normalcy to return in the valley.
Right.
Second point, I just, Sandeep, 1 minute I would like to take. The shelf life of a terrorist in Kashmir Valley is very limited. 3 to 6%. The Badsar must be knowing it very well. 3 to 6 months. But the shelf life of a terrorist in Jammu region is taking about 2 to 3 years. Basic reason is that the intelligence grid in Srinagar, Kashmir region is very strong. The intelligence grid in Jammu, especially the human int, is quite missing. And that is the reason the terrorists are not, it's not becoming easy to neutralize those Pakistani terrorists. And what my sources are telling me, they're very hard trained as far as the guerrilla warfare is concerned. And this is what I said earlier. We have to overhaul our security tactics, overall our security grid, overall our human intelligence, and thirdly, the people who are OGWs, they have to be taken to task very hard. Unless that is done, the permanent peace which we all yearn for is not going to come. And thirdly, what we must also take a lesson from Israel, how hard it takes on its enemy if something is done on its soil.
All right, we will leave it at that. Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, defense and geopolitics expert, SP Vaid, former Director General of Police, Jammu and Kashmir, and Tarun Upadhyay, senior journalist, Jammu and Kashmir. Thank you all three of you for taking time out to be with us here on this edition of the News 9 Plus show.